Today we continue with our class of Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. Okay, so and we continue with the Sefer Chofetz Chaim, then page 220, and the topic is advice. Okay, the previous rules apply to the initiator of the shidduch, employment of business partnership. Okay. Halachos classifies such a person as an advisor, and requires that he not make suggestion if he has a reason to suspect that it may not be best for interests of either party. So this person, first we call him advisor, right? So if he knows something, as we said, like I don't know, about some skeleton in a closet or some like big thing, so he should not advise. Okay. All right, so continue. A similar set of rules applies to one who did not make the suggestion, but whose advice is sought by the one of the parties. So basically, it's that this person is one of the references on the list, right? He too must not be guilty of misleading the people involved. In fact, his responsibility even greater than that of the shadchan, matchmaker. Where the shadchan merely suggests that the shidduch be considered, right? The advisor often states a definitive opinion regarding the proposed relationship, which may be which may profoundly influence the party's final decision. So basically, this guy, right? He has on his on his reference list somebody else, right? So and this somebody else. Let's say somebody from the girls side called this somebody else his friend, right? Let's say, and they take his advice or his answers as truthful and the right answers. And I'm going to say from my experience, few times they put me as a reference. I suffer greatly. It's like unbelievable. Some people, they professional. I'm not sure if they want to get married, but they want to ask all of the questions. So a few times we represented women, right? Our students and stuff like that. So it was like a nightmare. This guy or somebody else like would shoot questions one after another. It was too much. You understand? So and you have to be careful how you answer, because based on your answers, they're going to decide. Of course, they're going to ask some other people, but but me personally, I didn't like to be on this reference list. Okay, go ahead.
Are you ever allowed to advise and be a mussar without asking a beis din first?
Mussar in what sense? What do you mean?
Are you allowed to call authorities like we were just talking about? No, you know.
We're not talking about that. Why talking about authorities? No, that somebody's getting married.
Yeah.
So and we were on a list of this girl, reference, and somebody from their side called us and asked the question about the girl. So what is a mussar? We're not talking about authorities. Mussar, when somebody Jew goes to authorities and report this guy is not paying taxes, he's this, he's that. So that's the mussar.
Okay.
But I mean, as I said, few. I mean, she got married. Baruch HaShem. She has children. Baruch HaShem. I mean, this one specific girl, right? But these guys, in my mind, they were crazy, absolutely crazy. Like professional shidduchim, right? They would ask like all of these questions, but and he would take notes and that. But you said this and you said that, and more. What do you think if she would be under this pressure and that pressure, this situation? It's like for me, like it was at least 2 or 3 people. Like they were too much. I don't think they got married. These people, it's like I don't know who exactly they were looking for, but okay. So continue. Giving advice is not a matter of that to be taken lightly, right? So I mean, the other side they believes us, right? So we cannot say like whatever we want to say. One does not give a guidance unless he believes that and he understands the situation. That's very important thing, right? And has the insight and a life experience necessary to properly direct the petitioner. Okay, so many you have to be very careful how you answer, and few times when somebody asked me to be on a reference list, so I simply said I cannot do that. So first of all, I didn't know that person that well, and I didn't hold him to the very high standard, to put it mildly, right? So I mean, personally, I didn't want to lie. And so I mean, it's if you're not sure, if you're able to do a good job, so it's better to withdraw yourself. One should never encourage a match he knows nothing about for the sake of seeing it that the person finally gets married, right? So it's not a good thing. I mean, then they're going to get divorced after they're going to get married, get divorced because of stupid guy, right? That they decided no, he's a great guy, and I don't know, he would give all of the compliments, all of this, let's say, all of the non-existing things, right? Which is a big issue. Okay, so continue. One may encourage a match only if he sincerely believes that it is good for both parties. Okay, so this is continuation, 4:9. 1 second to 20. Continue. Page 4:9. Thus, well, advisor. First obligation is to the party he is advising. It is forbidden for him to encourage shidduch that he clearly knows is bad for one of the parties. So it doesn't matter like what party you represent. If you know that this is not good shidduch. So I mean, just refuse. Why? Why you want to put your life on line because of this, right? This would be considered speaking lashon hara if in the form of speech that causes harm. Okay. It is forbidden for an advisor to encourage relationship unless his disapproval is based on a first-hand information that has that was carefully analyzed. So in another sense, I mean, now we're going to see. Okay, but if he knows what are these negative things the first hand, or he just heard about it, right? So many times he has to say, "I do not know, I'm not sure. So let me get back to you and do investigation, stuff like that." Finally, if the advisor encourages the petitioner to pursue a given shidduch, but his advice was ignored, he may not draw the conclusion that the person just does not want to get married. Okay, so I mean, we live in a closed circle, right? So the next time that somebody from this guy would call, as I just draw the conclusion that a few guys who called me about this lady, so I'm not sure they were actually want to get married. I mean, they find they sound to me too professional. I mean that it was shidduch number 435. Like for me, he knew all these things, all the questions, all of the situation that he described for me, like how she's going to behave in this situation, that situation. It was like too much to bear, at least for me. Is incapable of making commitments or has unrealistic expectation. Okay. To make such a statement would not speak lashon hara, would be speaking lashon hara, and perhaps chatzas shemra. Okay, that's whatever I said, but of course you don't know who I'm talking about, and it was a general statement, basically, right? So I mean, of course, if this person would go, call me second time, and so I would have to answer about another person, another lady, or so I would have to answer all this question from the beginning, of course. Okay, so we continue. with laws of the Sefer Torah found to have an error, right? And it's Siman 24 and Sif number 6. And we left off on this showing of the child to the child, right? So okay, so Sif number 6. When showing a letter to a child, one is not required to cover before him the letters that follow the character in question. However, the letters are preceding the character in question, it is customary to cover. So let's see the commentary, and we're going to explain. So basically, we're not sure if this letter still have this shape, the correct kosher shape or not, right? So basically, we call this child, and they say some letters we cover, some we don't cover, because as we said before, so maybe he knows the word and he can read this letter with all of the other words, with all other letters, and like figure what it says there. So one more time, and we're going to comment. However, the letters that preceding the character in question, so before that, right, it is customary to cover commentary. Although the child might use the content to help you identify the letter, one is not required to cover the letter that follow the character in question. However, we do not allow him to see the letters that precede it, for the child might be familiar with this word. So, I mean, of course, as I said before, the child is not especially smart, not especially dumb. So, I mean, I mean, even if he's not especially smart, but maybe this word he does know, right? So we follow. That's why we cover the letters that precede this letter in question, and without focusing on on the letter in question. Right, so we just cover the preceding letters. So one more time. However, we do not allow him to see the letters that precede it, for the child might be familiar with the word, and without focusing on one letter in question, will guess at which letter would follow. So I mean, as we said, it's like logically, just because he's little and does not seem to understand. Maybe this word, as we said, he does know, right? And he will figure what, based on the preceding letters, what the letter in question is. We would then have not have the judgment of what is written, but a guess at what should be written. So that's not what we want. We don't want any guess, and we want him to tell us what the letter is. We therefore cover the preceding letters. Mishnah Brura 51, however, writes that the preceding words should be covered. Preceding words should be covered, but does not require covering the preceding letters of the word containing the questionable letters. Okay, I'm not sure. I learned, but I don't remember why exactly she said that. So preceding words, he said covered, but not necessarily the preceding letters of the word containing a questionable letter. I'm not sure why. Okay, but it makes sense. So basically, one more time, we don't want him to guess. We want him to tell us what he sees. If letter was broken by a hole in a parchment, and a part of it remained beneath the puncture, and we are unsure whether the part of the letter that is above the puncture is of required size. One is required to cover the part of the letter that is beneath the puncture before showing to the child. Okay, so let's try to understand. So now a little different situation, right? So in this case, it was a hole, as we did discuss. They call it puncture, right? Last time, and we want to see if the letter still did not lose its shape. So I mean, partially it lost its shape, but if it's still kosher shape. So one more time. If the letter was broken by a hole in a parchment, right? So as we said before, so we assume that the hole was developed after the letter was written, right? And a part of it remained, okay? So some hole, okay, some part of it remained beneath the puncture. So, okay. And we are unsure whether the part of the letter that is above the puncture is of the required size. So let's see commentary, number 34. As we have seen in CF number 4, if there is a puncture or to the parchment around the letter, and the letter remained its specified form, the Sefer Torah is kosher. Similarly, if the puncture pierced through a letter, but the form of the letter is still intact, albeit a bit thinner or shorter, the Sefer Torah is kosher. So that's why we need this little guide to tell us if this letter is thick enough to be kosher, right? So that's what we need him. So one more time, the letter is above the puncture's required size. Okay. One is required to cover the part of the letter that is beneath the puncture. So, okay, before showing to the child. So let's see what was the rationale. So basically we cover part of the letter and see if he understands what the letter is. For the child will include it. And in truth, it should not be included. Commentary. Here the child is being called upon to determine whether the letter, for example, a vav, retains its form without the section beneath the hole. He must therefore be shown only the part above the hole, so that he will not include the part beneath the hole if in his determination. So basically, this little guy would need to know if this letter, whatever left from the hole, right? Like above the hole, if it still looks like a vav in this example. Okay. So I mean, if we leave him with a hole, and of course he would combine this piece underneath and say, okay, this is vav. So that's not what we want. Okay. Similarly, if the ink flaked off part of the letter and some impressions of the part remain, they are required to cover it, so that the child should not include it in determining whether the properly black part retain its proper form. So let's read it one more time, and we're going to explain. Similarly, if the ink flaked off of the letter, as we said yesterday, or no, the day before yesterday, it's very, very possible. So ink just flaked off, meaning like was not scraped, but fell off by itself. And some impression of the part remains. So it's not as black. This part is not as black as the whole letter. Right? They're required to cover it, right? Meaning this bad part. So the child should not include it in a determined whether the properly black part retains its proper form. So let's see commentary. Early in the CF4, Kitzur ruled that if the letter has lost its ink, so that it is no longer black, right, the Sefer Torah becomes unfit for use. That's we're talking about completely the whole letter, right? Where it is unclear whether enough of the character has remained black, it is shown to a child. Here to the child must not be shown the faint portion of the letter that is not considered valid, right? So, okay, I mean, if he can read the letter the way it is, right, without this without this portion of the letter that's missing an ink, to prevent him from including that in his determination concerning the remaining black of the part of the letter. So basically, the way I understand, they're trying to say, so let's say, right, this piece the letter that does not have enough ink, so like it is missing, right? It's missing completely. That's why they cover this part, and they ask child if he can steal this letter, he can still read this letter. That's the thing. Okay. So halacha number 7. When invalidation is found, of the sort of which we are required to take another Sefer Torah, right? As we discussed last time, all of the situations, right? If it was found between one person and the next person, that is between aliyahs, they take another Sefer Torah and resume reading from at the place where they stopped. So it's very interesting. So basically, they now they need to change the Sefer Torahs. So one was invalid, and it was between aliyahs. I mean, okay, it's idealistic scenario. Okay, so let's see commentary. Even if they notice the invalidation at the point of the middle of the aliyah that was concluded, they are not required to begin reading from the place of the invalidation. Rather, they resume reading from the place where they stopped. Okay, Mishnah Brura. So basically, we allow them to finish reading. I mean, even this one letter, let's finish the aliyah in this case, or at least finish the sentence, right? And then they're going to read from the next Sefer Torah. They should complete the appropriate number of the persons who must be called upon for aliyahs, and those who have already ascended to read from the Sefer Torah that is invalid are included in the number of olim. So just because of that letter, right, whatever issue, I don't want to say letter, the issue of the first Sefer Torah does not mean the whole. I mean, even though it is invalid as of right now, does not mean that all of the aliyahs that were done before, all of the people who were called before this to the Sefer Torah, there is a problem with them. No, we said no, we still count them, no problem. So let's see, there is a few commentary. So the first commentary, it's 38. So it says they should complete the appropriate number of the persons who are called upon the aliyahs. 38. When the Torah is read on the days that do not include mussar service, 3 people are called upon, right? Meaning mussar on holidays, on Shabbos we have mussar, right? On Rosh Chodesh we have mussar. On Rosh Chodesh and Chol HaMoed, 4. So usually we call 3. Okay, on these 2 days we call 4. On a festival, 5. So, but we have mussar on the festival. On Yom Kippur, 6, and on Shabbos, a minimum of 7 people are called up to the Torah. So that's the good thing for us to know. So on regular days, it's 3. When regular days, meaning when there is no mussar. Rosh Chodesh and Chol HaMoed, 4. On festival, 5. On Yom Kippur, 6. On Shabbos, minimum 7. Of course, you can add on Shabbos if needed. So one more time, they should complete the appropriate number of the persons who must be called upon for aliyahs. Commentary henceforth will refer to them as olim, as a singular olim. Okay. So we. So if needed, so I mean, if they would have found this error at the end of the third aliyah, let's say on Monday, and they read three verses minimum, so there is no problem basically. All right, so they don't have to take another Sefer Torah, even they did not complete the aliyah according to like Siddur, let's say. Called the aliyahs, and those who have already ascended to read from the Sefer Torah is that is invalid. I included in the number of olim. So basically, even though Sefer Torah is invalid, so we still say that these aliyahs were good. Commentary. Some authorities maintain that even the absolute invalidation outlined by the Kitzur above do not render Sefer Torah invalid to read from. Okay. Although this minority opinion is not accepted, the Sefer Torah should be corrected before the further use. The reading that has already been done is not disqualified and it not to be repeated. So whatever they did, no problem, we accept it, do not disqualify. But still, so next time we cannot read it from the Sefer Torah. That's a basic approach. Similarly, those who have ascended to read from the first Sefer Torah are included in the final tally of their leads, which is makes sense. And since, as we said, just said, there is some lenient opinions, right? So basically, they may continue reading from the same Sefer Torah. So, of course, we count everything that was done until now. If this occurs on Shabbos, right, then if it is possible for 7 more olim to read from the second Sefer Torah, they should do so. Okay. In concern for the opinion of the authorities who maintain that what they read in invalid Sefer Torah is not counted. On Shabbat, this can be done, for it is customary in any case to add many olim to the minimum. Okay, so let's read the commentary. The number of those called to the Sefer Torah each day reading outline 38, both minimal and maximum requirements. On Shabbos, however, one may add to this number. So basically, the thing is what the Kitzur is saying, that on other days, it's in only very, very, very rare occasions they would add somebody, like add an aliyah. For example, there is a bris milah, right, in the shul, so maybe like they do exception, but otherwise they try to be strict, right? So, but it's very interesting. So, they say on a Shabbos, because it's Shabbos, because it's customary to add olim, so they say to read the 7 to call 7 other people from for the second Sefer Torah. It's very strict opinion. So one more time. Then, if it is possible for 7 more olim to read from the no, it says if it's possible. Commentary: there is enough of the parasha remain unread that it can be properly divided in 7 more aliyahs. So if it's a room to divide, as we know, some aliyahs very long. I don't know how many. Like the guy would stand there for 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Right, it's very long, very, very long. Right, and some of them are shorter. So they saying, so it depends if you have don't read the parasha second time. So if you have enough time, if you have enough room, you have enough psukim and enough people to be called to the Torah, so that's what you do, right? They should do so, meaning to call for a second Sefer Torah, in concern of the opinion that authorities who maintain that what they read is in invalid Sefer Torah is not counted. So, okay, so a very strict opinion. So, but we try to take it into consideration if it's possible, right? On Shabbat, this can be done, for it is customary in any case to add many olim to the minimum. So I would say I would add like unless there is a special event and like an off-roof or something like that, usually people don't add. Maybe in a huge shuls they would add a few more aliyahs, but otherwise it's not customary to add, unless, as we said, special occasion. Okay, continue. CF number 8. If the invalidation was discovered in the middle of the Torah reading, there is while in the middle of the aliyah. Okay, that's interesting. Regarding this, there is a various opinion and customs, and each place should uphold its custom. So meaning in the middle of the aliyah. Okay. However, in a place where there is no set custom, it seems to me that one should do as written in Shulchan Aruch, that one does not recite the blessing over the invalid Sefer Torah. So commentary. See, however, Mishnah Brura, 143, 23, who rules that if they had already read 3 verses, right, and the invalidation is not noticed at the point where they could stop, as a okay, they should do so, and the blessing should be recited. So basically, so Mishnah Berurah says, if they already read the 3 verses, so let him do the blessing afterwards. Okay. Okay, continue. So basically, so he said that do as Shulchan Aruch says, that one does not recite blessing over the invalid Torah, it's a Sefer Torah. But we said if he already read 3 blessings, 3 psukim, so it's like an aliyah, minimum requirement for aliyah, so let him just say the blessing. Rather, they stop the reading immediately and take another Sefer Torah. So it's like when it's in the middle of the aliyah, and resume reading from the place where they had stopped in the first Sefer Torah. Okay, so I mean, very straightforward way. Right, so if there's no different custom, so they stop whenever they found an error. So they from the second Sefer Torah, they start from the sentence where they had this error. Okay. If they stop in the middle of the verse, it seemed to me that they should resume from the beginning of the verse, which is logically makes sense, right? And they should finish the day's portion. Day's portion, what does it mean? Commentary. They resume the reading until the end of the day's portion. They're not required to repeat that which they read from the invalid Sefer Torah. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, whatever was read before, we just leave it alone, and we take another Sefer Torah. Okay. It would seem that the reader should always read for the Oleh in the valid Sefer Torah a minimum of 3 verses. Okay, so commentary, Oleh who had been called upon when invalidation was found. So basically, so this guy is standing there, and they found an error, right? So we don't call another person. So we still have this person in whose aliyah it was an error. So and we're going to read for him another 3 verses. If there are no longer 3 verses before the end of the day's portion, that's an issue. Right? So I think we should go back. So what do we do? They should begin reading a bit earlier. Exactly. So just add from what we said before. Commentary. In order to be reading the Sefer Torah, second Sefer Torah, to be significant enough to warrant that as a blessing to be recited, it should include at least 3 verses. Okay. So meaning if let's say two verses left until the end of the day's portion, so they would go back 1 more verse and say read this 3 verses, and he would be able to say the closing blessing on the Sefer Torah. The Leib should recite the final blessing over the second Sefer Torah, exactly, right? But he should not recite the first blessing. For the first blessing that he recited over the invalid Sefer Torah was accredited to him. So basically, he said already on blessing on that Sefer Torah, and when they start reading, I mean, everything was kosher, right? Later on, they found an issue, but so basically, he said only the concluding blessing on the second Sefer Torah. On the first, he said the first blessing, and on the second, he says concluding. Commentary is explained in notes 40. Since some authorities maintain that absolute invalidation do not render the Sefer Torah unfit for to read from, right? So I mean this very lenient opinion. The reading that has already been done is not disqualified. So I mean that's this lenient opinion helps very much, basically, right? Similarly, the blessing need not to be repeated, even though we don't follow that lenient opinion. But in some sense, we can use some leniencies. Continue. Obviously, if they could call upon the 7 Olim to read in the valid Sefer Torah, they should do so. I mean, Tircha de Tzibur, right? It's too much pressure on the public. Also, we cannot do. I mean, if we can just finish reading and Shabbos is long as it is, right? And if they're going to add another, let's say they discover it's after the 4th Aliyah, so now it's a little too much basically for other people. If we have a more lenient opinion and would allow us to just continue basically. This is the law, even if they had not begun to read at all before this event. As the invalidation was discovered, immediately after the first blessing was recited. Even so, they take out another Sefer Torah, and he does not repeat the first blessing. Okay, so they found it in the beginning. So commentators say, even though they did not read at all from the Sefer Torah, over which he recited the blessing, he should not repeat the blessing. So even though they did not read, he said the blessing and they discovered right away. Well, let's say it was in the same column. He saw the error. Okay. So even though they did not read from this first Sefer Torah, so this blessing continued to the second one, his blessing. One should not distinguish between the final aliyah and other aliyahs in regard to this matter. What does it mean? Commentary. Although some authorities maintain that if the invalidation was discovered during the final reading, that is while the last required aliyah has been called upon, they should not bring another Sefer Torah. So that's the very interesting opinion. So they say if it's a last guy, so let them just finish. Siman Kitzur rules that there should not be differentiation. So even though it's last person anyway, so according to the Kitzur, bring second Sefer Torah. This refers to the 7th Aliyah, not a maftir. See the next note. Okay, so basically, what we do, we call 7 people, right? Regular Sefer Torah, and then maftir. So maftir is actually a repetition, partial repetition of the last aliyah, right? So it's actually number 8, and this guy is going to read from the prophets, right? So we're talking about 7th aliyah. Not the 8th one. So one more time the whole sentence, right? So Kitzur said one should not distinguish between the final aliyah, so meaning this number 7, let's say, and other aliyahs in regard to this matter. So basically we explained that there is opinion that if it's a last aliyah, just let it go. Kitzur show no, we're not going to let it go. So even if at 3 verses, 4 verses left until the end of the aliyah, we still go and bring the whole Sefer Torah, the second Sefer Torah. If the invalidation was discovered during the maftir, however, see below 78.8. Interesting. So commentary. So maftir, basically they completed the 7 aliyahs. So basically, the way I see it, right? So they did not see somehow that doesn't matter how they did not see the issue in guy number 7, right? But they discover in the extra person. So after the fact, maybe there is no problem after the fact. But let's see. Their kids rule that on a regular Shabbos, when the maftir is simply a repetition of the final section of the day's portion, one is not required to take out a new Sefer Torah. Okay. If an invalidation is noticed during the maftir, so not during Aliyah, it's said, but maftir, as we said, the maftir is extra. However, on the days required the additional portion to be read for the maftir, for example, Parashat Zachor, that's a different issue, right? They say some say it's a biblical obligation, right? Or on the Shabbos, or there is Rosh Chodesh. That's also a different thing. It is if an invalidation was discovered, they must take another Sefer Torah for the master. So basically, when we read this addition for Rosh Chodesh, it's always from second Sefer Torah. It's not from the same. I mean, if they have only one, that's a different story. But if they have two, usually people have two, so they would read from the second Sefer Torah. So in this case, they said no. You have to go and get another Sefer Torah to complete this Rosh Chodesh reading. Okay, so let's see. Maybe we do one more. Number 9. If an invalidation was discovered in the Sefer Torah, and there is no other Sefer Torah there, that's the issue, we complete the reading in it for the requirement number and the required number of a limb, albeit without blessing. Commentary. So basically, if it's the only Sefer Torah, and as we said before, there is a lenient opinion that say that even with those invalidation that we listed last time, okay, they say still it is good to finish. So basically, we're going the middle path, right? So since we don't have any other choice, we continue reading from this Sefer Torah, but without blessings, because as we said, it's invalid Sefer Torah. Commentary 51. Since some authorities maintain that the Sefer Torah remains fit for use despite of the errors described above in see note 40, as we said before, right? Where there is no other Sefer Torah available, one should continue to the Torah reading. The blessings, however, should not be recited, as most authorities rule that the Sefer Torah is not fit for use. As we said, right? So they would still call on people, I guess, for aliyahs, but without they would not say blessings. 51, 52, 53 two commentaries. There are Kitzur rules that it is if invalidation was discovered before maftir. Okay, maftir, this aliyah number 8, right? They should bring another Sefer Torah. If there is no other Sefer Torah available, the previous aliyah should recite the blessing over the Haftorah. So basically, I remember this ruling. So, and continue. There the Kitzur explained that even in the event that they are unable to complete the minimum number of olim due to the lack of this kosher Sefer Torah, the Haftarah should be read without reciting the blessings. Okay, so let's try to understand. So first commentary we said about this maftir. So if they found if they found this error before the maftir, before this person that is going to read from the prophets, right? So we say, so we tell them. So and there is no another Sefer Torah. Let's say so. If there is, they should bring. If there is none, right? So they say do not say the blessing, final blessing on the Sefer Torah. On the Torah reading, right? But say blessings over the Haftorah. Okay, which is very interesting, right? So he skips the blessing of the Sefer Torah. So here I'm not sure what was. They just say the note. And we're going to get to it one day, but it says there the Kitzur explained that in the event that they are unable to complete the minimum number of olim, so due to the lack of the kosher Sefer Torah. So basically, I would say that they would go by this stricter opinion and say if this invalidation, they have to go and bring another Sefer Torah, and now they don't, right? They don't have another one. So when they would say Haftorah, they would not say the blessing. Okay. So let's say they were able only to read for 3 people in Shabbos, which is problem. Okay. CF number 10. some authorities say that if an invalidation discovered in a Sefer Torah within one Chumash, right, it is permitted to read in it from another Chumash. Okay, so let's see commentary. The Torah is divided into 5 Chumashim: Bereish, Shmos, Vayikra, Bamidbar, and Dvarim. So basically, for us, it's one and the same. It's one scroll, right? But technically, so some people would write it on, especially in the olden days, the way I understand, they would they could write in like in separate ones, separate scrolls. All of these 5 machine, but in separate scrolls. I think it was cheaper like that, right? So one more time, some authorities say that if in a validation discovered in Sefer Torah within one Chumash, right, as we said, it is permitted to read in it from another Chumash. Commentary: although the Sefer Torah must include all 5 Chumashim, these authorities maintain that an error in one Chumash does not invalidate the other Chumashim in the Sefer Torah. So let's say they are connected together. So it's like more lenient opinion. So in this case, if they found an error in whatever we were reading, so they would still be allowed to scroll to the parsha to the parsha of Rosh Chodesh, for example, and read from there, right? So because it's in another Chumash. That's my explanation. But let's see. For example, if the invalidation is in the book of Bereshis, right, it would be permitted to read from the Sefer Torah with attendant blessings, of course, in the book of Shmos. Okay. Or maybe they were like were rewinding the Sefer Torah and they saw the invalidation. Maybe that's another case, right? And one may rely upon this opinion in a present situation, such as when it was not possible to correct an error, or if the error was found on Shabbos or on festival. So commentary: it is forbidden to correct an error on Shabbos or on festivals, since this would generally entail the forbidden activity of writing or erasing. Okay, that's or as we said, Maki Bepatish, right? Also, nevertheless, on Shabbos during the Mincha service. Okay, so basically we said we can rely on this opinion, because even though they all connected together, they all sewn together, as we say explained before, right? But in some sense, it is a separate Chumashim, right? And I mean, it does not say here, but what I learned in the olden days, they were some people would use this like separate Chumashim, and in some shuls where you go, they have not Hebrew and English, but Hebrew only, and it's one Chumash, and I think it's in some of them even there is no Rashi, so it would be very thin, like only a few pages, and you're done with parasha. It's very interesting. But I'm not talking about printed one. Okay, there is no connection, just an example. Continue. Nevertheless, on Shabbos during the Mincha service, so okay, one should not take out the Sefer Torah, because then during the Mincha service, the Torah reading is not as significant an obligation. So okay, if you don't have any other Torah, so don't take it on Mincha, during the Mincha commentary. So I mean, Mincha, there is no way to fix. On Monday and on Thursday, okay, you can, before the reading, you can fix it quickly, and there is no problem. Right? So commentary. Since there is no absolute obligation for this Torah reading, one should not recite the blessing over the Sefer Torah that is not entirely fit for use. Okay, even if the invalidation is located in a different Chumash. So that's a stricter opinion, right? They should rather omit the Torah reading. So, of course, if they have no other choices, that's what they do, right? They cannot fix, right? And there is no stricter obligation, so there is they should skip the Torah reading completely. Continue. The Torah reading on Shabbos afternoon is not a significant an obligation, okay, as it was instituted only for those who do not attend the synagogue on Monday and Thursday. So basically, just to remind us, on Monday and Thursday. So on Shabbos afternoon we start reading the parsha for the next week. So as they say here, people who are not going to come on Monday and Thursday, so that's for them we read this piece. But if he's going to come on Monday, so he's going to hear exactly the same reading. Okay. Continue. So halacha number 11. If the seam between the two sections of the parchment tore partially, okay, so that's a problem. I mean the parchment is still connected, but tore partially, right? In most of the seam, if the most of the seam remains intact, they may read from Sefer Torah. So now we're not talking about the letters. Now we're talking about this disconnection between from one page to another, right? So if most of them is intact, so most of it, like I would say, like 51%, so they continue reading. Right? If most of the seam is not intact, they must take a different Sefer Torah. So basically, there is no problem with the spelling or like shape of the letter, but because it's not connected. And if there is no Sefer Torah available, right? If the tear is in the same Chumash as the one from which they must read, they should not read from it, unless there remain a minimum of five stitches. Okay, I'm not sure. The way I remember, like the stitches are pretty big. So 5 stitches is I'm not sure. Like maybe it's 30%. I'm not sure how many, like percentage wise. Okay. So basically one more time. So if they have another Chumash, if they have another Sefer Torah, they should take another Sefer Torah. If there's a tear in the same Chumash they're going to read, so they were rolling the Sefer Torah and they found this tear in another Chumash, right? And not what they're looking for, so there is no problem, right? But if it's in this Chumash, that's the problem. They should not read unless there remains a minimum of 5 stitches. Okay. However, if the tear in a seam is in another Chumash, they may read from the Sefer Torah. So here is Baruch HaShem, we have this leniency. So as we said before, they saw the tear in different Chumash while they're rolling. So and they actually going to read from Shmos, let's say, not from Bereshis. So no problem, let them continue. Even if only 2 stitches remain, that's very interesting. So, but since it's a different Chumash, I mean, nothing is going to happen to the Sefer Torah, so that's good. Continue. Let's try to finish this Siman Beezrat Hashem. Number 12. If wax or fat was found to have dripped into the letter or a word, so basically the wax from a candle, and that's how they were writing the Sefer Torah, right? On fat, I'm not sure why would fat there, I'm not sure. Maybe also from the candle, right? On the letter. If it was discovered during the week, one should remove it. So, I mean, with a knife, like with a razor, like carefully remove it. However, if it was discovered on Shabbos or festival, if the letters can be seen and they can read from the Sefer Torah as it is. Okay. So basically, if they can see through this piece of wax or fat, there is no problem. Commentary. If the letter can be still read when the wax or fat does not render the Sefer unfit for the use, it may be therefore be used. Okay. If the letter can still be read, I mean they can still receive the letter, then the wax or the fat does not render the Sefer Torah unfit. Okay. And maybe it's on a part of the letter, maybe it's a little touching and stuff like that, so there is no problem. Okay, continue. But if the letter is letters are so covered by the wax or fat that they cannot be seen, right? And the wax or fat that was discovered in a place from which they do not need to read, they may still read from the Sefer Torah and recite the blessings. Okay, very interesting. Here, different situation. So this wax or fat that cover completely the letters. So, but we do not need to read from that specific place. So no problem. We say the blessing. Everything is kosher. However, if the wax or fat is in a spot from which they must read, and since it is prohibited to recite even one word, not from the writings, that is by heart, therefore it is possible, if it is possible to remove the wax or fat in an unusual manner. For example, the wax or fat had dried completely, and one can fold the parchment in such a manner that it will fall off. They should do so. Okay, so let's try to understand. So now we're talking about different situations. So now we said that this fat or wax actually cover the letters, and they cannot be seen, right? At least completely. So the problem is that, as we said before a few times, so you're not allowed to read the Sefer Torah by heart. So we were talking about this Baal Koreh, right? The one who reads from the Torah. So he must look, even though, as we said before, these people are so like highly professional. They know all of the notes and they know all the text by heart. They still must look at the Sefer Torah and read from them, right? So if it's covered, so basically his memory does not help, right? Therefore, it is possible to remove the wax or fat in unusual manner, right? So commentary, the wax may not be removed in a normal manner on Shabbos. So of course, in a Monday and Thursday, you can remove, there is no problem. So on Shabbos, so if you remove in unusual manner, right? So how do they do that? For example, the wax or fat had dried completely. So I mean, it's from a long time. And one can fold the parchment in such a manner that it fall off, right? They fold the parchment from the back. And hopefully this wax is going to fall off. And I'm going to add from myself, hopefully without ink. So ink is going to stay. Otherwise, it's also a problem.
I have a question. In this case, we agree that taking off the wax on Shabbos would be a derabanan, correct?
Say it again.
Taking off the wax on Shabbos would be a derabanan, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my question is, reading the Sefer Torah is also a derabanan, right?
I read in the Sefer Torah. Okay, go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, because Ezra made the takana. So my question is, if this seems to show that I'm allowed to do, it seems like a derabanan in an unusual way, right? In order to be able to do a derabanan mitzvah, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I mean, it's what I said, a general approach. Absolutely, yes. Okay, continue. We're almost done. But if they cannot remove the wax or fat, okay, so for whatever reason, it got stuck to the parchment, right? They should not read from the Sefer Torah, so clearly. So if you can remove it in a usual manner, do it. If not, not allowed. So commentary. Although the Sefer Torah is fit for use, they should not use it, since the text that must be read is covered. The reader would, in effect, be reciting the covered words from the memory, even one letter, right? Rather than from reading. Of course, I mean, it's clear. So even this partial letter is covered, so there is a problem. This is not considered a Torah reading. So, I mean, so even one letter he cannot see, so it's not considered Torah reading. See Shulchan Aruch, who rules that even a single letter may not be recited without being read from Sefer Torah. Okay, as we said before. Right?
Just to be even more clear, actually, if I do a derabbanan unusually, even for the sake of not a mitzvah, it's still allowed, right? Since what's it called?
Oh, but you want to give me maybe some example, or what do you mean?
I know. Let's say this.
Okay, I give you this example, right? So if it's we have this category of sick people, right? Whose life is not in danger, basically, right? So I mean, he's bedridden. So for these people, for this person, you are allowed to do some rabbinically prohibited things in an unusual manner. So basically, rabbis say do not do it, and they have authority to tell us but we told you not to do it, but in the case of the need for that specific person, you can do it in such and such manner. That's in an unusual manner.
So I'll give you one which I could think of. Let's disregard the prohibition of mussar for a second. If I write, backhanded, okay, one letter, okay, it's not forbidden. If we're not saying mussar, would you agree?
Okay, so I mean, even I would say even one letter is if it's forbidden according to a rabbinic decree. Yes.
Oh yeah, one letter is forbidden according to the rabbinic decree, but since I'm doing it backhanded, right? It's an unusual manner. So
Okay, all right, okay.
So in this case, it's okay. And not talking about mussar.
I'm not sure if it's a case. So since it's not for the sake of the mitzvah, it's not okay.
Mm-hmm. But why would it be a prohibition? Because if a deraisa turns into a derabanan and an unintentional derabanan is going to be no avera, then something unintentional is like doing something. What's it called?
I give you this example for example, you went with somebody had an emergency, and you went with that person on Shabbos, right, to the hospital, and now they say we're not going to admit this person unless you write his address and stuff like that. So the guy is bleeding, chas v'shalom, right? So you have to write. So and they say in order to minimize the desecration of Shabbos, so you write with your left hand, backhandedly, whatever, with your teeth, whatever you do. So, but that's for the sake of the mitzvah. But but you cannot use the same approach for just because.
I hear what you're saying, but your case is a little different because you're actually writing a resume, which would be a deraisa in the first place. In my case, there's no deraisa. I only wrote one letter.
Okay, but still, as we said, it's rabbinically forbidden, for sure. So
there's xera on xera then, no?
No. Don't overcomplicate things. So yeah. Okay, so let's try to finish. We're a little over time, but I want to finish this. So it says Sicha Biur Halacha, who rules that if the wax was noticed while they were in the midst of the aliyah, they should recite the obscure word from memory to continue reading from the Sefer Torah. Very interesting. So it's Biur Halacha. So he said what? One more time. Who rules that if the wax was noticed while they are in the midst of the aliyah? I'm not sure if it's a part of. I mean, looks like it's a part of the reading. They should recite the obscure words from memory and continue reading from Sefer Torah. So basically, I mean, it's a little lenient opinion, and we can rely upon it. So almost done. So it says, okay, when on a weekday, they remove the wax or fat. If it has been discovered covered in wool divine name, they must take care not to scrape the wax or fat. So as to avoid the reason the letter of divine name is forbidden. as we know, right? Commentary. When scraping the wax or fat, they might scrape off some of the ink that spell divine name. Doing so violate the scriptural prohibition against erasing the divine name. That's the big issue. That's wow. So basically, they would try to melt it, the way I understand, right? Rather, they should heat They should heat the parchment from the outside, right? In order that the wax or fat dissolves easily, and scraping will not be necessary. So basically, that's I would say that's the only way out. To heat it from the other side, of course, it must be careful not to overheat it, because we can ruin even indirectly, but we can ruin the ink also. Okay, so we finish with this Siman. So next Siman is 25. The law pertaining to Ashtay, Uvalid Sion, and until the conclusion of Shachrit Soros. Okay, go ahead. Questions? Yeah, go ahead.
About this removing of wax or fat, we are talking doing this on Shabbos, or every day we are talking?
No, it's you're not allowed to continue reading on Shabbos or every day. So, but on every day it's easy. You just take even with your nail, right? So you just remove this wax, and there is no problem. I mean, if it's removable, right? But on Shabbos, 1 second. But on Shabbos you cannot do that so easily, right? So because why you might scrape the letter. So on a weekday, so if you did with a nail, you took some knife or whatever you did. So even if you scrape a little the letter, there is no problem. You can put a little ink, there is no problem. But on Shabbos we cannot erase. That's the issue. So we cannot write and we cannot erase. That's what we're scared of. Yeah, go ahead.
So if it is on a weekday, so isn't a better option to just take another Sefer Torah?
I mean, it's I would say it's not a better option, because it would take much more time. So you have to roll to do exactly the same thing, right? Exactly the same part. And usually, from my experience, what I see, so usually all of this, even if they have 3 Sefer Torahs, let's say, they would be rolled to the different place. So one, for example, they prepare for Rosh Chodesh, right? So they would have rolled on Rosh Chodesh, right? One is for weekly parasha, whatever they read, and the third is for in the different place that they prepare. For example, they already prepare for Purim. You understand? So it would take a very long time to get the second Sefer Torah and start rolling. So it's easier, much quicker, just to remove this impediment. Yeah, go ahead. Any other question, Israel?
No, that's all for now.
Okay. Any other questions? Other people? Okay. So Baruch HaShem. So thank you very much for learning, and good night until tomorrow, Beezrat HaShem. Thank you. Thank you, Baruch HaShem. So we completed this. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.